It was a bright afternoon in the heart of the city. Expensive cars passed by. People walked with their phones, their heads down, lost in their own lives. On one busy street, there was a famous restaurant known for serving the richest people in town. Inside the restaurant, everything was clean, shiny, and perfect. Waiters wore white gloves. Soft music played in the background. Men in suits and women in designer dresses sat around, sipping juice and laughing. Then came Mr. Raymond. He was one of the richest men in the city. Everyone knew his name. He wore a dark gray suit, shoes that shined like mirrors, and sunglasses worth more than most people's monthly salary. When he walked in, the manager came running. "Welcome, Mr. Raymond. Your table is ready." He nodded without smiling. He didn't need to smile. People smiled for him. He walked to a private table near the glass window and sat down. Outside that same window, a small figure stood watching. A boy. Skinny, dirty clothes, no shoes. His hair was messy, and his eyes were tired. His name was Malik. He was only 10 years old, and he had no home. For the last 3 days, he hadn't eaten anything. He watched people eat and leave leftovers. Sometimes he'd get lucky and find a half-eaten sandwich in the trash. Sometimes he'd get nothing. But today felt different. He stood near the window, staring at the food on the table. His stomach growled. He could see Mr. Raymond placing a white napkin on his lap. A waiter brought in a dish covered with a silver lid. With a smile, he said, "Your special meal, sir." The waiter lifted the lid. Steam came out and the smell filled the air. It smelled strong. Too strong. Malik's eyes widened. He had smelled that before. He remembered. It was the same smell from the night his friend Ari got sick after eating thrown-out food behind this restaurant. Ari had screamed, held his stomach, and cried all night. Malik remembered how his friend had whispered something before passing out. "It smells the same." That memory rushed back into Malik's head like a wave. Without thinking, he ran to the restaurant's front door. People yelled at him. A waiter tried to stop him, but Malik didn't care. He pushed past them, ran toward Mr. Raymond's table, and shouted with all his strength, "Don't eat that!" The entire restaurant froze. Glasses stopped mid-air. Forks dropped. Some people gasped. Others laughed. "What's this dirty kid doing here?" a woman said, covering her nose. A guard came running toward Malik. Another grabbed his arm, pulling him back. "Out! Get out, you little rat!" But Malik didn't stop. He kept pointing at the plate. "Don't eat that. Please don't eat it." Mr. Raymond had lifted his fork halfway. Now he stopped. His hand stayed in the air. Slowly he looked at the boy. Their eyes met. Malik's eyes were not angry. They were scared. No, terrified. The billionaire frowned. "Why are you shouting?" he asked. The guard answered for Malik. "Ignore him, sir. Just some crazy homeless kid." But Raymond raised his hand to stop the guard. He looked at Malik again. "Why shouldn't I eat it?" Malik opened his mouth to answer, but he couldn't speak. He was shaking, then he pointed at the dish. "The smell, it's wrong, someone I knew. He ate food that smelled like that. He never woke up again." The restaurant went silent. The laughter stopped. Now everyone was listening. The chef stepped forward, sweating. "Sir, don't listen to him. He's just making up stories." But Raymond didn't respond. He looked down at the dish. He leaned forward and smelled it. It did have a strong smell, stronger than usual. His face changed. He slowly placed the fork down. Something didn't feel right. "What's in this food?" Raymond asked. His voice was calm, but sharp like a knife. The chef blinked. It's a new sauce, sir. A mix of spices. Very special. Imported." Raymond raised a hand. "That's not what I asked." He looked back at the boy. Malik's chest was rising and falling fast. His lips were dry. He looked tired, weak, but his eyes were still locked on. The dish like it was a bomb. The billionaire leaned back in his chair. He tapped his fingers on the table. Outside, the sky darkened a little as clouds moved in. Inside the restaurant, Everyone waited for what would happen next. Mr. Raymond looked at his assistant and said quietly, "Send this dish to my lab. I want it tested." Then he turned his eyes back to Malik and asked once more, "What's in this food?" The restaurant was still quiet. Everyone watched as the billionaire, Mr. Raymond, pushed his plate away. He didn't take a bite. He just sat there thinking about the strange boy's warning. Malik stood between two guards. His clothes were dirty, his lips were dry, but his eyes were full of fear. Fear that something bad was about to happen. "Throw him out," the chef said angrily. "He's making a scene." The manager nodded. "Apologies, sir. We'll handle it." The guards pulled Malik toward the door. He didn't fight. He was too tired. But just before they pushed him out, he turned back and shouted, "Smell the sauce. It's not right." The words echoed through the restaurant. People whispered. Some laughed. Others rolled their eyes. "He's just a street kid," one man said, "looking for attention." But Mr. Raymond wasn't laughing. He picked up the silver spoon and dipped it into the sauce. Then he raised it close to his nose. He smelled it again, slower this time. His face turned serious. It did smell strange, not like anything he had tasted before. Too sharp, too bitter. Something was off. He looked at his assistant, Mr. Dale. "Take the whole dish to the lab. Full test. No delay." Mr. Dale nodded and left quickly with the plate. Mr. Raymond stood up. He walked slowly toward the door where Malik had just been thrown out. Outside, the street was loud again. Cars honking, people walking, the city back to normal. But the boy was gone. Raymond looked around. No sign of him. "Find the boy," he told the manager. "Get me security footage from outside." That night, Mr. Raymond sat in his big office at the top of his glass tower. The city lights twinkled below him, but he wasn't enjoying the view. He was looking at something on his screen. It was a blurry video from the restaurant's outside camera. It showed Malik standing near the glass, watching him. Then it showed the boy running toward the door, pushing past the guards, and screaming. The war moment played again and again in Raymond's mind. "Don't eat that." He paused the video and zoomed in on Malik's face. The boy's eyes looked so serious, so scared. He didn't look like someone playing a joke. Raymond leaned back in his chair, thinking, who was this kid? Why did he warn me? His phone buzzed. "It's you." Was Mr. Dale. The test results had come back. "Sir," Dale said, his voice shaky. "There was something in the sauce." Raymond sat up straight. "What?" "Nothing that would kill you immediately, but definitely unsafe. Dangerous chemicals, something like expired preservatives mixed with toxic herbs. Could it be a mistake? I don't think so. The amount was too much, and it's not the first report we've had of this kind of food poisoning lately." I checked. Raymond's eyes narrowed. This wasn't just a spoiled dish. Someone had made this on purpose, or was hiding something very wrong, and that boy, he knew. The next morning, Raymond left early. No guards, no fancy suit. He wore a simple jacket and cap. He went to the same street where Malik had stood yesterday, the bakery, the trash bin, the alley. He walked slowly, searching, and then he saw him. Malik was sleeping in a cardboard box near the back of a closed shop. He looked cold, arms wrapped around himself. A torn blanket barely covered his legs. Raymond walked closer. He gently tapped the boy's shoulder. "Hey." Malik opened his eyes fast, scared. "It's okay," Raymond said softly. "I'm not here to hurt you." The boy blinked. He looked confused. Then he recognized the man from the restaurant. "You didn't eat it?" Malik asked. "No," Raymond said. "You stopped me." "Thank you." Malik didn't say anything. He looked away. "Come with me," Raymond said. "You need food, real food, safe food." Malik didn't move. "I don't want food," he said quietly. "Not from there." Raymond was surprised. "Why not?" Malik looked up at him and whispered, "Not all food is safe. Not all people are either." His voice was small, but the words were heavy. Raymond felt something twist in his chest. This boy, he had seen things, maybe even worse things than adults see in a lifetime. "Tell me what happened," Raymond said gently. "Why did you scream? How did you know something was wrong?" Malik sat up and pulled something from under his blanket. It was a small, dirty notebook, old and bent, with pages nearly falling out. He opened it and pointed to a name written inside. It was the name of the chef from the restaurant. Raymond stared at the page. He felt a cold wave pass through his body. "How do you know him?" he asked. Malik looked straight at him and said, "Because my dad knew him, and my dad is dead." Mr. Raymond stood still, holding the small, dirty notebook in his hands. He looked at the name Malik had pointed to, Chef Daniel Brooks, the same man who had smiled at him while serving the poisoned dish. Malik's voice was quiet, but every word hit Raymond like a hammer. "My dad, he knew that chef. They used to work together a long time ago. My dad trusted him. But one day something went wrong. My dad found something in the kitchen, something he wasn't supposed to see." Raymond sat beside the boy on the cold pavement. His expensive jacket touched the dirty ground, but he didn't care. "What did your dad see?" he asked. Malik's fingers trembled as he flipped through the notebook. He wrote things down, things that made him scared. He told me, "If anything happens to me, never trust food from that place." Malik looked up. He never came home after that. Raymond took a deep breath. He had 100 questions, but he knew this boy had lived through pain most people couldn't even imagine. "I want to help you," Raymond said, "but I need to know everything." At the restaurant. Later that day, Raymond returned to the same restaurant, but this time, not as a guest. He came alone in casual clothes, asking to speak with the chef. Chef Daniel welcomed him with fake smiles and nervous eyes. "Sir, we are deeply sorry for yesterday's misunderstanding," the chef said. Raymond gave a polite nod. "Let's talk in private." In the kitchen office, Raymond placed the notebook on the table. It landed with a soft thud. The chef stared at it. His face went pale. "Recognize this?" Raymond asked. The chef licked his lips, trying to smile. "Just a child's notebook, isn't it?" Raymond didn't smile. "You knew Malik's father, didn't you?" The chef hesitated. I worked with many people." Raymond leaned closer. "He trusted you, and he died. Why?" Chef Daniel backed up slightly, wiping sweat from his head. "I don't know what you're talking about." But his voice cracked, his hands shook, Raymond's eyes narrowed. He didn't believe him. He left the office without saying another word, but he had seen enough. Back at the apartment, Raymond brought Malik to a clean, quiet place, his guest apartment. He gave him warm food, clean clothes, and let him sleep on a soft bed for the first time in weeks. The next morning, Malik sat quietly, holding a cup of hot milk. He finally began to speak. "My dad was a kitchen cleaner. He never made much money, but he was smart. He said the chef was mixing something strange in the sauces, something that made people sick." Raymond listened carefully. "My dad found old boxes. No labels. Just a red X painted on them. He asked the chef about it, and the next day, he was gone. Just gone." Raymond clenched his fists. "Did your dad go to the police?" "They said they'd investigate, but nothing happened." Malik opened the notebook again. Inside were small drawings of boxes, a few symbols and names. One page said, "Red X Danger, Check Supplier, Oak Ridge Foods." Raymond's eyes locked onto that name. He knew it. "Oak Ridge used to be one of my company's partners," he said slowly. "We cut ties years ago. Something about illegal products." Malik nodded. Maybe they never stopped. That night, Raymond couldn't sleep. He searched old emails, news articles, and company records. What he found made his stomach turn. Oak Ridge Foods had been shut down, but reopened under a new name, Oak Spring Delights. Quietly, secretly, and guess who was? One of the first buyers? Chef Daniel Brooks. Raymond leaned back in his chair, shocked. This wasn't just about a spoiled meal. It was bigger, hidden, dangerous. Malik had been right all along. The next morning, Raymond made a decision. He drove back to the restaurant, but not to eat. This time he wanted proof. He walked in before opening hours. The chef wasn't expecting him. Raymond headed straight to the storage room. He found a locked metal cabinet. He forced it open with a crowbar he brought from his car. Inside were old files, a few sealed packages, and a box with a faded red X. Raymond opened one of the packages. A strong, bitter smell hit his nose. It was the same smell from the sauce. He took photos. He packed a sample and walked out. Outside, he stood under the morning sun, breathing deeply. It was real. Everything Malik had said was real, but now someone would try to stop them. Mr. Raymond sat in his car holding the package with the red X. His heart beat faster than usual. The smell inside that box, it was the same as the food from 2 days ago. It wasn't just an accident. Someone had knowingly used dangerous ingredients and nearly served it to him. He looked at the photo on his phone. A clear image of the box, with the faded X and a shipping label, from Oak Spring Delights to Chef Daniel Brooks. It was proof, but it was also a warning. Someone powerful had kept this secret hidden for years. Now Raymond had pulled the curtain back, and they wouldn't be happy about it. Meanwhile, in the apartment, Malik was staring out the window. He had clean clothes, now warm food and a soft bed, but his heart still felt cold. He wasn't used to safety or kindness. When Mr. Raymond returned, Malik didn't ask where he had gone. He just looked at the box in his hand and nodded. "You found it," he said. Raymond sat beside him and placed the box on the table. "You were right," he said. "Everything you said, the chef, the food, the company behind it, it's all real." Malik looked down at his hands. "No one believed me when my dad disappeared," he whispered. "They said he probably ran away or got into trouble." "But you never gave up," Raymond said gently. "That takes strength." Malik didn't answer. Raymond placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. "I'm going to the police. With this evidence, they'll have to listen." But later that night, Raymond's phone rang. It was his assistant, Dale. "Sir," he said in a low voice. "Be careful." Raymond sat up straight. "What happened?" "Someone's been asking questions about you. Strangers came to the office, said they were looking for your car, your location." Raymond's eyes narrowed. "They know I found something." "Yes, sir. And I think they're watching you." Raymond looked across the room. Malik was asleep on the couch, curled under a soft blanket. Peaceful for once. He couldn't let anything happen to this boy. Not after everything. Early the next morning, Raymond drove quietly through the city, Malik sitting beside him. "Where are we going?" the boy asked sleepily. "Somewhere safer," Raymond replied. "Out of the city, just for a little while." He had a small cabin near the woods, a private place, far from cameras and crowds. It was quiet, peaceful, and more importantly, hidden as they drove. Malik held the notebook close to his chest. "Do you think they hurt my dad because of what he found?" he asked. Raymond glanced at him. "I don't think, Malik, I know." There was silence for a moment. Then Malik whispered, "What if they come after me too?" Raymond looked him in the eye. "Not while I'm here." Back in the city, Chef Daniel Brooks was pacing in his kitchen. His hands shook as he poured a glass of water. Then his phone buzzed. A message appeared. "He knows. Take care of it. Tonight." The chef stared at the screen, sweat dripping down his face. He had made mistakes. But now he was being pulled deeper into something he couldn't control. And the boy, that boy, was still alive. That evening at the cabin, Raymond and Malik sat by the fireplace. The warm glow filled the room. "You're not just saving yourself," Raymond said to Malik. "You're saving everyone who eats at that restaurant. You're saving people you've never even met." Malik looked surprised. "Me?" "Yes, you. Your voice stopped something terrible. You made people listen." Just then they heard a noise outside, a soft crunch of footsteps on gravel. Raymond stood up slowly. Another crunch. Closer. He moved to the window and pulled the curtain back. Nothing. But when he opened the front door, he found something on the ground, a torn piece of paper from Malik's notebook. It had been taken from his bag. Someone had been inside. Raymond looked around the trees. Whoever was watching. They were getting closer. The torn notebook page in Mr. Raymond's hand shook slightly. He stepped outside, eyes scanning the trees, but the wind only whispered through the leaves. Whoever had been there was gone now. Inside the cabin, Malik sat up, rubbing his eyes. "What happened?" he asked. Raymond walked in and showed him the torn page. "This was outside. Someone's been watching us." Malik's face turned pale. "They followed us here?" Raymond nodded. "But we're not running anymore." That morning, Raymond drove back to the city, this time with security. He left Malik with a trusted friend, an old retired detective named Mr. Howard, who owed Raymond a favor. "Keep him safe, no matter what," Raymond said. Then Raymond went straight to the police department with the evidence. The photos, the notebook, the samples from the kitchen, all of it. A serious officer, Detective Ruiz, listened quietly as Raymond explained everything. When he finished, Ruiz leaned back and said, "We've had complaints about that restaurant, but never proof." Raymond placed the red X box on the desk. "Now you have it." At the restaurant, Chef Daniel was sweating again. He had heard the news. Raymond was at the police station, and the boy was still alive. His phone buzzed. Another message. "If the boy talks, you go down. You know what to do." He dropped the phone. He had gone too far. He never wanted this. He had taken money, yes, bought cheap, dangerous supplies to save costs. But now, he was being told to do something worse, something he couldn't undo. Back at the cabin, Malik sat at the table, flipping through his father's notebook. Page after page of scribbled warnings, box codes, names. A pattern started to form. Then, something caught his eye. A faded picture taped to the last page. It was a photo of his dad, smiling and standing next to him. Was Chef Daniel young, clean, friendly? They had once been close. Malik stared at it. His hands shook. Why did he turn evil? He whispered. Mr. Howard sat nearby. He gently took the photo. "Sometimes people choose money over morals," he said. "But your father didn't. That's why he was a good man." Meanwhile, Raymond received a call. Detective Ruiz had news. "We sent a team to the restaurant," he said. "We found the same red X boxes hidden in the basement. Illegal goods. Expired chemicals. All labeled as organic." Raymond's heart raced. "They've been poisoning people slowly for years, small amounts. Enough to harm, but not enough to trace." "What happens now?" Raymond asked. "We're shutting them down. But we need one last thing." "What?" "Testimony. From someone who saw it all, someone like the boy." Raymond paused. He didn't want Malik to go through more pain, but this might be the only way to bring justice for his father. Later that night, Raymond returned to the cabin. Malik looked at him as he stepped inside. "Is it over?" Raymond shook his head. "Almost. But we need your help. The police want you to tell your story." Malik was quiet. Then he slowly nodded. "My dad didn't." "Stay quiet," he said. "So I won't either." Raymond smiled softly. "I'll be right beside you," he said. The next day, Malik sat in a quiet police room across from a detective. He told them everything. What his father saw, what he wrote down, how the chef changed, how the food smelled wrong, and how he screamed just in time. Tears ran down his cheeks, but his voice stayed strong. Outside the room, Raymond watched through the glass. He saw something in Malik's eyes. Courage. This boy, once sleeping in cardboard, was now saving lives. Meanwhile, police arrested Chef Daniel. He didn't resist. In the back of the police car, he whispered, "I never wanted it to go this far." But it didn't matter anymore. The truth was out. 1 week later, the restaurant was shut down. Yellow police tape covered the front door. News vans parked outside. Reporters spoke into cameras, telling the city what had happened. Words like poison, cover-up, and arrest were on every news channel. But behind the headlines, one name kept coming up. Malik, the homeless boy who saved a billionaire. The boy who screamed, "Don't eat that," and now the boy who helped stop a dangerous crime. At the police station, Mr. Raymond and Malik stood beside Detective Ruiz. A few reporters were waiting outside. Cameras flashed. Microphones were held up, but Raymond gently shielded Malik with his arm. "He's not doing this for fame," Raymond said. "He just wanted to tell the truth." Malik stayed quiet. He didn't like attention, but he liked the feeling in his heart. His father's truth had finally been heard. Later that day, Raymond took Malik to a graveyard. They stood in front of a small, simple gravestone. Michael Carter, a father, a worker, a man who spoke up. Malik placed the notebook beside the stone. "We did it, Dad," he whispered. Raymond put a hand on his shoulder. "I'm proud of you," he said. He would be too. 1 week later, Raymond called a press conference, but not to talk about the restaurant. This time, he had a surprise. "I'm launching a foundation," he announced, called the Carter Trust, named after Malik's father. "The goal is simple, to help children living on the streets, food, shelter, safety, and a chance at a better life." Gasps filled the room, but Raymond wasn't finished. "And this young man," he said, placing a hand on Malik's shoulder, "will be the face of this mission. Not because he's famous now, but because he lived it." Malik stood beside him, dressed in a clean suit. Nervous but strong. People clapped, cameras clicked. For the first time in his life, Malik didn't feel invisible. That night, Malik sat in his new room, a small but warm bedroom inside Raymond's home. There was a bed, a desk, books, a photo of his father on the wall. He picked up a pen and opened a new notebook. On the first page he wrote, "Sometimes even the smallest voice can stop something big. Never be afraid to speak the truth." He smiled. He wasn't just a boy from the streets anymore. He was Malik Carter, son of a brave man, protector of truth, and a symbol of hope.